All right, welcome to Lecture 10. So in Lecture 10, we're going to learn about naming again, but remember last time we were all about naming ionic compounds? Well, in this lecture, we're going to learn how to name two other kinds of compounds. In this part A, we'll talk about naming molecular compounds, and then there'll be one more kind of compound we'll learn to name. That'll be acids. That'll be in part B. And then finally, yeah, there'll be a third part. The third part, we're just going to kind of review because, it can get a little complicated. So we'll have like a little review video as well. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and dive in. And right now we're going to start learning how to name molecular compounds. So before we do that, let's remind ourselves, what the heck was an ionic compound? What did we talk about last time? Well, an ionic compound is a compound that's made up of a metal plus a nonmetal. A metal plus a nonmetal. So remember how there's this staircase here? If you have a metal and a nonmetal together, that's an ionic compound. All right, so in those examples we did last time, we spent a lot of time learning about charges and talking about how charges got a balance. All right. Now, today again, we're doing something different. We're going to look at molecular compounds. So molecular compounds, first off, you got to know what the heck a molecular compound is. A molecular compound is going to be made up of nonmetals only. It's going to be two nonmetals. So in this type of compound, you're only going to see things from this top right corner. If the elements you see are up in that corner, both of them, in other words, there's not a metal. If they're only nonmetals, you have a molecular compound. And so that's how we're going to know that it's molecular. Now, the other thing that's going to be true is that there are no charges involved. So do you remember how last time I kept saying, oh, this guy's +1, that guy's -1. You got to balance out your +2s and your -3s and all that stuff. That's not going on in molecular. Molecular are a whole different thing, all right? So as far as how they're put together, we're going to talk about that eventually. But for this video, we're going to talk about how to name them. So the most important thing for you really is to know that if something is molecular, only nonmetals, there's a whole different procedure for naming them. There's a whole different method. We're not going to see Roman numerals. We're not going to see charges. We're going to do something else. All right, so for a molecular compound, and let me put up a couple here. I got a couple examples written over here. Let me check my notes here. P3O5, all right. Or maybe I give you, let's go, how about N2F6, or maybe I tell you, I don't know, let's do SCl4. These are all molecular, all right? So there's another way to name them, all right? So first off, let's just confirm, am I right? Are they molecular? Before we get into this, let's just double check. They should only involve nonmetals. P, let's go through them. P and oxygen, all right? Those two, yeah, both nonmetals. The first one's molecular. The second one, N and F. Oh yeah, both nonmetals, that's molecular. And our last one, S and Cl. Yeah, both nonmetals. So yeah, that makes it molecular. So yeah, all three of these are molecular. All three of these are molecular. All right, now, how do we name things when they're molecular? Well, the steps are up there. Let's go through it. You're going to write the name of the first element normally. You're going to write the name of the second element, but with the "ide" ending. Oxide, bromide, chloride, that "ide" ending. And then, this is kind of the big change, you're going to use prefixes to indicate the number of each element. So the way you tell me how many there are of something, you're going to use prefixes. So let's go through those prefixes. And there's a bunch of them. I'm just going to go through 1 through 6. If you need to know more than 6, you could look it up, or maybe I'll put it in the notes or something, okay? So 1 through 6 are the most common ones. So if you got 1 of something, 1 is mono. 2 of something, you're going to tell me you're going to use the prefix di. 3 of something, you're going to use tri. 4 of something, we use tetra. 5 of something, we use penta. And 6 of something, you use hexa. All right, one of mine is a little hard to read. Let me erase where I wrote 4. We're going to write that one more time so it's a little clearer for you, I hope. 4 is tetra, T-E-R-A. There you go. All right, so the prefixes are basically the way you tell me the subscripts. All right, so let's do our examples here. P3O5. So you write the name. It says write the name of the first element normally. P, what does P stand for? P is phosphorus. Then it says write the name of the second element with an I ending. So second element I see there is O. Do not write oxygen. It's not oxygen. It's going to end in "ide." Oxide. That's what we need to use, oxide. And then you use prefixes to tell me the amount of each. All right. So for the phosphorus one, I see 3 of them, right? So we'll use the prefix for 3, which is tri. So it's going to be triphosphorus. That's how you let me know there's 3 of them. And then you'll use the prefix in front of oxide that goes for 5, and that is penta. We'll say penta. So it'd be triphosphorus pentaoxide. Triphosphorus pentaoxide. All right, so didn't say anything about charges. There are no charges. Don't have to worry about charges. So the way you tell me how many of every atom is around is you use a prefix. In this case, tri for phosphorus and 5 penta for the oxygen. All right, we're going to do the other examples. Let me erase a little bit. Excuse me there. I'm going to erase a little bit, and we'll move on to our next example. Okay, let's try the next one. All right, into F6. Into F6. So for into F6, same idea. You write the name for the first element as normal. So what's N? N stands for nitrogen. Hopefully you remembered it was nitrogen. And then you write the name of the second element with an "ide" ending. F stands for, oh, don't say fluorine. Fluoride. And then you tell me the amount of each. How many nitrogens are there? Look at the subscript. There's 2, right? There's 2 of them. So that means that, oh, the prefix for 2, if you look up there, it's di, so it's going to be not dinitrogen, okay? And then you're going to use for fluoride, I guess, you'll use 6. There's 6 of them, right? The subscript is 6, so it'll be hexa. So it'll be dinitrogen hexafluoride. All right. So with that, let's do another one. Let's just make sure you got this figured out. Okay. All right. SCl4. Write the name of the first element normally. S is sulfur. You write the name of the second element with an "ide" ending. So what are you going to say for Cl? What's the name of it with an "ide" ending? It's going to be chloride. And then you use prefixes to tell me the amount of each. All right, now this example, there's something a little different about it, I got to tell you. And that is actually, when I talked about all these prefixes and how they tell you the amount, there's a little rule here, a little extra rule. Never use mono with the first element. So mono, you will see mono in names, but only if it belongs on the second element, all right? So I know when you look at this example, SCl4, you're thinking, well, wait a minute, there's only one S, there's only one sulfur, so is it monosulfur? No. You never start a name with mono, so it's not going to be monosulfur. You're just going to say sulfur. So if you have one of the first element, like in this case sulfur, just write sulfur. Do not write monosulfur. All right. Now for the chloride, I still got to tell you how many of those there are. So we never start a name with mono. So sulfur's done. But for chloride, how many chlorides are there? There's see, look at that subscript. There's 4, so it's going to be tetrachloride. Oh, I should be in the same color. Well, I messed up. Let's be consistent. Well, still not close enough. Tetrachloride. So that would be sulfur tetrachloride. All right. Let's try a couple more. Let's try a couple more just to make sure we got this figured out. All right. I'm going to erase these and we'll just do a couple right in the same slide here. Okay. So in this case, maybe you know what we should do? Let's just do a couple of ones that maybe you've already heard of. All right. Let's try a couple last ones here. Let me erase this down here. Goodbye. Let's do 2 more examples. All right. So I'm going to put up some that maybe you already know the name of, but let's make sure they follow the rules that we just talked about, like CO2. All right, and while we're at it, let's just do a little extra one. What do you call H2O? What's the official chemistry name? All right, so for both of these, you write the name of the first element as normal. C, oh yeah, by the way, it's a nonmetal, right? So you write the name of the first element as normal. C is carbon. You write the name of the second element with an I-dending. O, that's also a nonmetal, right? So 2 nonmetals, yeah, it's molecular. So you're going to write the name of the second element with an I-dending. Don't say oxygen, please. Say oxide. And then you got to tell me the amount of both. Now, wait a minute. If there's one of the first element, we don't start with mono. So I know there's 1 carbon. Don't write monocarbon. Do not write monocarbon. It's just carbon. All right, what about the second element, though? 2 oxygens, that's going to be dioxide. 2 is di. So it's not monocarbon dioxide, right? You never write mono to start a name. So please do not put mono there, all right? Even though there's 1 of them. It's not monocarbon dioxide. All right, what about that last one? Now the last one, H2O, obviously, chemists, we're not crazy. We're going to call it water usually. But what's like the official chemistry name of water, all right? What's the official chemistry name of water? Well, H2, so you're going to tell me H is hydrogen. You write the name hydrogen. And then you write the name of the second element with an I-dending. Ide, so that's going to be oxide again. And then you tell me the amount. All right. So how many hydrogens? 2, so it'll be dihydrogen. And how many oxygens? Only 1. Now I want to be clear because some people get mixed up on this. You can use mono if you need it, but you'd only use mono with the second element. So we would actually say there's 1 oxygen, that's the second element, monooxide. So mono might show up in a name, and actually we don't repeat the O's there, it's just we drop one of the O's. So the oxygen, monoxide might show up in a name if it's part of the second name. All right, the second word. Never put mono with the first element though, but it might go on the second. All right, so with that, that's a little bit on naming molecular compounds. Let's do just a couple quick ones where we're going the other way. All right, going the other way. All right, let's do that. Let me flip over to the next page and we'll do that. All right, let's do a couple where we're doing the other way. So I'm going to write up some names and you're going to tell me the formulas. How about phosphorus? Yeah, we'll do phosphorus penta. Oh, let me check my notes here. We're going to do phosphorus pentachloride. And while we're at them, we might just do one more of these. How about dinitrogen? And then we have tetrabromide. What's going to be the formula for that? Now, I'm not actually going to put up any steps here because, you know, basically you just write the symbols and then the prefixes are going to tell you the subscripts for molecular compounds. So phosphorus, what's the symbol for phosphorus? What's the symbol for phosphorus? Oh, it's P. All right, and then we have pentachloride. So chloride, that's Cl, chloride, chlorine, chloride is Cl, and then the penta tells me that there's actually 5 of them. Now notice again with the phosphorus, right? There's only one of them. It doesn't say monophosphorus, but if there's no word up front, it's mono. So it's monophosphorus, or it's really phosphorus, but there's just one phosphorus, okay? All right, so how about dinitrogen tetrabromide? All right, same idea. So we're going to do dinitrogen. So nitrogen is N. And how many is di again? 2 nitrogens. Dinitrogen. And then it says tetrabromide. Bromide is Br. And then the tetra tells me there's 4 of them. N2Br4. That would be dinitrogen tetrabromide. All right, so molecular compounds, they're a little different, right? Don't worry about charges. You just got to worry about those prefixes. The prefixes tell you the subscripts. All right, so with that, let's do a couple extra little practice questions that are going to pop up right here. And then we're going to see how they go for you. All right, hopefully you're understanding this. We're going to do, we'll do some practice and do some homework on it to get even better at it. If you're still stuck or didn't make sense or something you're a little confused about, just let me know. Give me a call or send me an email and I will try to help you out the best I can. All right, that's it for part A. We're going to move on to part B, and in part B, we're going to talk about something totally different, yet another kind of compound that we need to know how to name.